Hey everybody, so it's time for another season preview. We are now up to the Vancouver Canucks. This is season preview number 4 for this season, as I drop the whiteboard. Vancouver was one of the worst teams in the league last year, and now the Sedin twins are gone. They're a team that when you look at their roster, there's not a lot of high-end talent. Their goaltending's questionable. They've got some solid pieces in place, but there is not a whole competitive team here whatsoever. So this is what Roster Resource has. I think this is a team, given their situation, there's a lot of opportunity to win jobs here for prospects and younger players to steal roster spots. We'll have to wait and see how training camp and the preseason goes and see what their roster looks like come the beginning of the season. But as of right now, this is what Roster Resource has. Top line, Louis Eriksson, Bo Horvat, and Brock Besser. Second line, Sven Barchi, Elias Pettersson, and Marcus Granlund. Third line, Antoine Roussel, Jay Beagle, and Sam Gagne. And fourth line, Brandon Leipsic, Brandon Sutter, and Tim Schaller. On the back end, Alex Edler and Troy Stecher, their top pair. Michael Delzato and Eric Goodbranson, their second pair. And Ben Hutton and Chris Tanev, their third pair. Starting goaltender is Jacob Markstrom. Backup is Anders Nielsen. And I should add Thatcher Demko to the board. I didn't think to do that. But Demko is waiting for an opportunity with the big club coming out of Boston College. So I'll add Demko there on the goaltending side. Extra players, Roster Resource has Jake Virtanen on the outside looking in as an extra forward, along with Nikolai Goldobin, and then Derek Pouliot as the 7th defenseman. I think Virtanen definitely has a chance to be in the actual lineup, probably ahead of Leipsic, but we'll see. Maybe even ahead of Schaller. But they did just give Schaller a fresh contract in free agency. You know, they brought him in for a reason. I don't think they brought him in for him to sit the bench, or sit up in the press box, I mean. So we'll see. Maybe Sam Gagne gets knocked out of this lineup. He hasn't been that great of a player the last few years. I mean, overall, this team's just lacking. They have some good pieces. Bo Horvat, obviously, is a good younger player. Brock Besser is a real, he's one of their top young prospect, not really a prospect anymore. He played in Vancouver last season. But he's one of their top young players. Elias Pettersson, obviously a huge prospect in the organization. I mean, I like Sven Barchi and Marcus Granlund as, decent second, third line guys. But they don't have the high-end first line talent. And look at their third line. Antoine Roussel, Jay Beagle, and Sam Gagne. That'd be a great line if it was your fourth line. But it's a third line. Their entire third line is made up of guys who belong on the fourth line. So, I mean, that just kind of shows you where we're at with Vancouver. I mean, they are a rebuilding team, and the rebuild continues. This is not a team that is on the latter end of the rebuild. They're rebuilding. It's going to be a process. Defensively, I don't think they're that bad, honestly. I mean, they're obviously missing the high-end talent on defense, but I think their defense is pretty solid. I mean, Alex Edler's been around the league for a long time. He's a decent player. Troy Stecher's a good younger defenseman. Michael Delzato and Eric Goodbranson, that'd probably be better suited as a third pair than a second pair, but, it's still solid enough players. And then Hutton and Tanev are pretty solid players. So, I think of when you look at, break it up into forwards, defense, and goaltending, I think their defense is probably in the best shape. Goaltending, I don't expect anything more than average out of their goaltending. Jacob Markstrom is a fine goaltender, but he's not a premier NHL starter. He's not even a top 15 NHL starter. Maybe not even a top 20 NHL starter when you really think about it. Maybe that's a video I'll do in the future is trying to rank all 31 teams starting goaltenders 1 through 31. Markstrom, I probably wouldn't even have in the top 20. So, they're definitely lacking there. Nielsen as a backup, he hasn't been great. I think Demko is really in the waiting to win an NHL job, and he could do it this season. It's just not a great roster right now. And there's a lot of guys as well not listed here who once injuries set in and stuff have a chance to play with this team. I think Adam Gaudette, like I said, definitely could play on this team. Darren Archibald played up in Vancouver last season for a while. And there's definitely others as well. So I don't have huge expectations. I have very low expectations for Vancouver this year. I think they're going to be one of the bottom teams in the league, certainly in the Western Conference. And they're missing high-end talent. I mean, Besser is high-end talent, but still very young. Same thing with Pedersen. High-end talent, but very young. They don't have a true number one defenseman. They don't really even have a top pair defenseman. Alex Edler is probably their best defenseman, and he's definitely like a number 4 on a good team. So there's just, this is clearly a rebuilding team, and that is in a team that is in the process of rebuilding. They've got to pile up the draft picks, pile up the prospects, let those kids develop. And once those kids develop and are ready, then this is a team that can start to be on the rise and become a good playoff and then maybe even Stanley Cup level team again. But right now they are far from that. So I really don't have much else to say about Vancouver other than they're a rebuilding team, and I expect them to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. They just don't have the roster in place right now. So we'll have to wait and see what the lineup actually looks like come the start of the season. This is just what Roster Resource had now, and we'll have to wait and see how their season goes. I expect them to be near the bottom of the league. So like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media, check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links are down in the description below. Sorry, I blanked out there. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll talk to you guys soon.